الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا وآتوا اليتامى أموالهم ولا تتبدلوا الخبيث بالطيب ولا تأكلوا أموالهم إلى أموالكم إنه كان حوبا كبيرا وإن خفتم ألا تقسطوا في اليتامى فانكحوا ما طاب لكم من النساء مثنى وثلاث ورباع فإن خفتم ألا تعدلوا فواحدة أو ما ملكت أيمانكم ذلك أدنى ألا تعودوا وآتوا النساء صدقاتهن نحلة فإن طبن لكم عن شيء منه نفسا فكلوه هنيئا مريئا ولا تؤتوا السفهاء أموالكم التي جعل الله لكم قياما وارزقوهم فيها واكسوهم وقولوا لهم قولا معروفا وابتلوا اليتامى حتى إذا بلغوا النكاح فإن آنستم منهم رشدا فادفعوا إليهم أموالهم ولا تأكلوها إسرافا وبدارا أن يكبروا ومن كان غنيا فليستعفف ومن كان فقيرا فليأكل بالمعروف فإذا دفعتم إليهم أموالهم فأشهدوا عليهم وكفى بالله حصيبا للرجال نصيب مما ترك الوالدان والأقربون وللنساء نصيب مما ترك الوالدان والأقربون مما قل منه أو كثر نصيبا مفروضا وإذا حضر القسمة أولو القربى واليتامى والمساكين فارزقوهم منه وقولوا لهم قولا معروفا وليخشى الذين لو تركوا من خلفهم ذرية ضعافا خافوا عليهم فليتقوا الله وليقولوا قولا سديدا إن الذين يأكلون أموال اليتامى ظلما إنما يأكلون في بطونهم نارا وسيصلون سعيرا صدق الله العظيم.
Jazakallah Muhammad Baba. Allah आपको जज़ा खैर दे. So today what we read was the first ruku of Surah An-Nisa, and Surah An-Nisa is again a Madani surah, and in the timeline of that is first surah was Surah Baqarah, and then it was Surah Al Imran, and now we are inshallah starting the Surah Nisa. So Surah Baqarah, in which in the start of the Madani life or the establishment of first Islamic state in Medina. So those topics were discussed, such as hypocrites, the previous prophets, and introduction to Tawheed. And after that, in Surah Al Imran, again, Battle of Badr and Uhud were discussed, and also Badrul Sughra, means the small Badr, which took place, that was discussed, and the delegation of these priests, Christian priests from Najran who came and met Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and Mubahala was discussed. Now, Surah Nisa brings totally different subjects and topics. And now, Surah Nisa was revealed after the Surah Al Imran, and it could be the mid to late Madani period, in which, like, when Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam established the first Islamic state in Medina, you have to remember, for 300 years, there was chaos, and there was a civil war in Medina between the two rival tribes, and they took toll on the society. There were a lot of orphans, there were a lot of widows, and so now these children who were orphaned, they were being raised by their relatives and sometimes just their tribesmen. And those people who took advantage, they took the property of the deceased person, and their money was entrusted to raise the children. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is warning those people not to devour the property or the money of those people you are entrusted with. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is describing, like, there are about 7 billion people in this world, but this all started with nafsin wahida, that one single person, and that was Adam alayhi salam. So we live in a society when it is overwhelmed by Darwinian theory of evolution, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is describing the exact history of mankind, where it come from. This mankind came from Adam alayhi salam, and Adam alayhi salam was created in the mirror image of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so in this other part of Quran, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inna lisana fi ahsani taqweem. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the best, created the human in the best form. And why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created human in his own image, plus also all the human beings you see, 7 billion people in this world, they are all children of Adam and Eve, Adam alayhi salam and Bibi Hawa alayhi salam. So all the humanity is basically progeny of a prophet. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that, he created with the best of the creation means from a prophet. And then he demoted humanity to the lowest of the low. So some people you see that, they have become killers, serial killers, rapists, and all that. They have listened to the lowest and low. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is describing, how do you claim your old glory, the inherited glory, that you are children of Adam and Bibi Hawa. And إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. And those people, if you want to find and go back to your old glory, so those people who have converted and believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ, and those who do the good deeds. وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ, and those people who advise other people of being steadfastness and righteousness. So this is the way glory. So this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is describing this whole humanity is nothing but a big family. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created only Adam alayhi salam, and when Adam alayhi salam was created, the mud actually was taken from this earth, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created Adam alayhi salam, and he was living in gardens of heaven, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala felt that he's alone and lonely. So one day when he was asleep, so from his own ribs, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created Bibi Hawa, and that's how that was the first pair in this world that was created, and all the humanity is nothing but one extended family. So we are discussing how the humanity was again, and now family has two things: your own immediate family, your wife and children is a family, and then your extended family. What is your family? Your cousins, your aunts, your uncles, they are all your family. And to the larger extent, like, the whole humanity is your family. So that's why, and above all, we are from the ummah, or from the nation of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, who's Rahmat lil Alamin. So love of humanity and service to the humanity is a key ingredient of our religion, that we should care about every human being that lives on this earth, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that you are all created from nafs wahida. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created a multitude of people. And wattaqullaha allazi tasaaluna bihi wal arham. And fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. On his name, you plead with Allah and make supplication to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَآتُوا الْيَتَامَى أَمْوَالَهُمْ وَلَا تَتَبَدَّلُوا الْخَبِيثَ بِالطَّيِّبِ. So if you are entrusted with any of the property, any of the money with yatama, so you should be very honest about it and do not change any of their property and everything or manipulate it, but rather give it to. And وَلَا تَأْكُلُوا أَمْوَالُهُمْ. So do not devote their property or money. إِنَّهُ كَانَ حُوبًا كَبِيرًا. This is indeed a very great sin. وَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ أَلَّا تُقْسِطُوا فِي الْيَتَامَى فَانكِحُوا مَا طَابَ لَكُم مِّنَ النِّسَاءِ. So if you fear that you cannot do justice, so if somebody is interested to take care of children and he feels that because of his poverty he cannot do the justice to that, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that if there are girls who are living with somebody and orphan girls, so if you feel that, so just marry somebody you like in a multitude. You are allowed. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that, up to the. So now another topic here is, before Islam in Arabian Peninsula, there were no limit on how many women a person can marry. So there were people with 8 to 10 wives. There were rich people who could do that. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forbids not to keep at one time more than 4 women. So when this order came, anybody who have excess of 4 wives, they selected 4 wives and they divorced anybody who have more than 4 wives. Like somebody had 10 wives, so they had to divorce 6 wives. And another thing that happened, that for the first time, in the law of inheritance, women were given the right to inherit, and it was for that it was half of the property, that half of the portion of what a man will get. So if a person who passed away, if he has 1 son and 1 daughter, and he leave behind $3,000, so the boy will get $2,000 or whatever the currency was, and girl will get 1. So it was given. So at that time, you see that how frail are the human society and influences are, that at that time some people came and asked Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam that how come women has, because concept of women getting a right to inheritance was an alien concept, like it was a new concept to them, so they did not understand. And now again all the culture has changed. People question, why does a woman or a girl get only half of the property compared to a man? So it is a topic by itself. Like as I said, that the topics of inheritance is so detailed, the calculation and everything. A person who has only 1 daughter, a person who has only 1 son, or he has both girls and boys who left behind, if he has brother. So these are so much. And one scholar, he had calculated that although it seems that a woman is getting only half of the portion as compared to men, but if you calculate the whole thing, a woman who gets inheritance from her husband and from the father's side, so it all comes out, the calculations. So those people are very surfacey, who do not do all the maths and calculation, and they come up to this, say, oh, how come it is given? But we do not want to get, but Islam was the first religion that gives right of inheritance to the woman, and they put the limit of in the polygamy. They say that only 4 women are allowed. So that was the first. in those people who criticize the polygamy in Islam, in Bible it is written that some prophets married 700 women and all that. So it is written in Bible, and it doesn't live. But Islam limits, is the only religion that limit, polygamy to 4 women. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is again saying, وَآتُوا النِّسَاءَ صَدُقَاتِهِنَّ نِهْلًا. And another thing that was introduced that, was the concept of meher. What is meher? Meher is a gift that a bridegroom gives to his bride. And that was again, before, there was no concept. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is putting a duty of a man to provide for women or his future bride as form of a gift, or meher symbolizes 2 things. First, it is a gift, a gesture, and it also as a symbolic thing that, from now on, I will take care of all your finances, all your needs, all your, worldly needs, like, shelter, food, and the clothing. So this, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that give willingly and happily what you, the gift of meher, which is saduqatihinna. So, فَإِن تَبَانَ لَكُمْ عَنْ شَيْءٍ مِّنْهُ. So if they forgive, if you promise that, okay, I will give you a gift of meher as, $100,000, and she said, I don't need that. So it is okay for you, because it is not the money that counts, it is the gift that counts. It is the thought behind the gift that counts it. And, you can usually, what happens, it's a symbolic and also a gift. Like, if you gift and says that, no, I don't need her. If a bride says that I do not need the prescribed amount of meher, so they can mutually, spend it. They can have a furniture or anything, but it is the right of a woman to say a final thing that she wants to take it or she wants to spend it some other way. And another ayat, وَلَا تُؤْتُوا السُّفَهَاءَ أَمْوَالَكُمُ الَّتِي جَعَلَ لَكُمْ قِيَامًا وَارْزُقُوهُمْ فِيهِ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that if somebody is under your care, any orphans under your care, so do not give them, because although it is your obligation to give the money that belongs to them or to their parents, which eventually you have to give it to the orphans, but if they are not mature enough to understand the concept of money, concept of living, so do not give them the money, but rather provide, food for them, shelter from them, all that. And when they grow up a little bit, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَابْتُلُوا الْيَتَامَى حَتَّى إِذَا بَلَغُوا النِّكَاحَ. So test them. So if you give them a small amount of money and see that are they responsible with their money? Because if a young person is given a lot of money, if they have inherited a large amount of money, and if they are not mature enough, you give them, so it can actually destroy them rather than. So not only that a person whose under whose care are the orphan people, that you have to take care of them and eventually give them money, but also you have to groom them to be responsible with their money, responsible with their attitude toward the society. And so if they are not mature enough, sufaha means immature. So do not give money to the immature orphans, but rather test them. And if you find them that, they are mature enough, you give them the money. And there were some people, they would say, وَلَا تَأْكُلُوا إِسْرَافًا وَبِدَارًا أَنْ يَكْبُرُوا. So do not spend the money for the fear that if tomorrow these children grow up and they will demand, where is the, so there were some bad people who will spend all the money before they grow up, and they will do that immediately or very hurriedly. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is condemning all that. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَكَفَى بِاللَّهِ حَسِيبًا. And Allah is the suffice for all the reckoning and taking account. And in the next ayat, it is the portion of لِلرِّجَالِ نَصِيبٌ مَّا تَرَكَ الْوَالِدَيْنِ وَالْأَقْرَبُونَ وَلِلنِّسَاءِ نَصِيبٌ مِّمَّا تَرَكَ الْوَالِدَيْنِ وَالْأَقْرَبُونَ مِمَّا قُلَّ مِنْهُ أَوْ كَثُرَ نَصِيبًا مَّفْرُوضًا. And for the men, there's a prescribed amount of inheritance, and for the women, there's prescribed amount of a portion from the inheritance from their parents and from their relatives. So it is not only the parents' point of view that children inherit, but if there are other relatives, the sibling and the parents. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has. And وَإِذَا حَضَرَ الْقِسْمَةَ, and qismata means at the time of distribution, if other relatives show up who are not entitled to any inheritance, but as a good gesture, if there's a person who deceased and left behind a large amount of money and property, so give something to the relatives too. So it could be in the form of, some gifts. It could be in form of. So it is not the inheritance itself, but if you find that there's some poor or destitute relative of a deceased person, and if you are in charge of distributing, so give some portion as a charity, because if the person who passed away, he was a generous person and he took care of his poor relatives and everything. So although some of the distant relative would not inherit the money, but it was the tradition of the deceased person that he would support and all that. So give some them to them. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that at the time of distribution, it is a good thing. And also, talk to them nicely. So this way, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ يَأْكُلُونَ أَمْوَالَ الْيَتَامَى ظُلْمًا إِنَّمَا يَأْكُلُونَ فِي بُطُونِهِمْ نَارًا سَيَصْلَوْنَ سَعِيرًا. So those people who unjustly devour or spend the money of the orphan people, so what they are doing, they are actually devouring the hellfire. So they are filling their stomach with the fire of the hell. So such is the indeed punishment for doing that. So inshallah, if there is some comment, because this is quite a detailed topic, and under that, as I say, that just the law of inheritance is scholars have written volumes and volumes, and there's also very precise calculation and regarding many different situations. If a person is childless, how the property is distributed among the siblings, and if a person has both parents and children who left behind, so how much should go to the parents, how much should go. So this is something hard for me to just bring all the thing in the lecture form, but I will welcome any questions or any comments people have it.